Okay, Short-Term Revolution. I have with me Dr. Judith Mills Bramble, who is just my amazing um, now client, coach in our program, friend. I mean, just name it right now. She was probably one of the first people that I got to really work with in the physician space as a physician. So we kind of go way back, okay? But I have her on to come and share her story about literally how she's been able to now convert her long-term rentals into short-term rentals. But before I go into all of that, you get to meet her. She's an amazing person. Judith, can you just introduce yourself, tell the people who you are, what you do, and all that?
Well, thank you for having me on. I'm so excited to be able to share my story. My name is Judith Mills Bramble. I'm a family medicine doc. I've been in practice for about 13 years. I came to Minnesota for work as a short-term locum traveling doctor, and then end up staying over a course of time. So I don't know how I happened to do that, but I did. I am a mother of 5 kids. My husband and I have a little hobby farm here in Minnesota. We run Bramble Bread and Honey. We just have been exploring a lot of things over the course of years because of just our interest. And then I fell into real estate, basically. And that's how I'm where I am right now. So I'm excited.
So let's get a little bit into your story, because yours is actually pretty interesting. You got started right as the pandemic was starting.
Yes, I did. Actually, it was in 2019. I was working with a coach because I really wanted to kind of explore more non-clinical aspects of life.
Okay.
And I was working with a coach, and somehow or another you came across my radar. I don't know, I don't remember the exact details of it, and that was 2019. And then you did like a webinar or something like that.
Yeah, like in December, late November, December. Yeah.
And the reason why it caught my eye is because it actually targeted what my fear was, and it was about financing. How can you get into real estate? For my thought process, I have student loans, I still have a mortgage, we have, just things, you have life. And then I think the webinar kind of speak to how you can really start to finance real estate. And I was like, I got to learn more about that. So that's how I really started, because it spoke to me.
Yeah.
That was my concern at that time.
Okay. And then, so you joined us, I think it was in end of 2019. Then we went into 2020. And then you found your first deal. This was a long-term rental. Let's just keep it straight. Yes. It was a long-term rental, but you were up to the races. You found your first deal like in, I don't know, 5 weeks. You were under contract.
Yes. As a matter of fact, I remember I was in the course and you asked me, I had like about 11 showings or something like that set up, because we're on this kind of like 90-day blitz. I know you didn't call it that at the time, but it really was like a 90-day type of a runoff. And so I had my realtor and I was like, okay, I want to see this, and this. And I had them all set up. And I remember coming back to when we were talking on these weekly group meetings, and you're like, you should really run the numbers first and make sure you're going to ones that are really pertinent, because I was just like off. But yeah, I did find that first deal. I think it was like in March, early, either that March of 2020 or so. And we ended up closing in and a little bit towards the July, just because of some holdup with the seller. But I was okay waiting because this was more of an investment property. So yeah, it was exciting. And I was only focusing on long-term. Actually, no, in the very beginning, I don't know if you remember.
Yes, I remember.
Very beginning.
It just sparked the thing. You wanted to do short-term rental.
I did. I was like, okay, how do we run the numbers for like a little cabin? Because people come to this area for the lakes, because I live in rural Minnesota, northern Minnesota. So it's not like it's like on everybody's radar, but there are people who come for lake life. And I was looking at cabins, and then, kind of like, I didn't know how to really assess a short-term rental and how is that going to work out. So I had that on my radar back then. And then, but I went towards the long-term rental route. But hey, I circle right back around. It
I
doesn't leave
remember
you.
that just like literally, guys, this is not scripted, guys. Okay, this is not scripted at all, because I just remembered that
Yes.
you actually wanted to get a place
Mm-hmm.
for like people, but then I was like, it's gonna be so seasonal, right?
Yes.
That was my
Yep.
concern. That like, how do you get a
Yes.
property that's so seasonal? It's not gonna be rented in the winter, in the
Yes.
winter.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Yes, I
Here we
remember
are.
I remember that day because I was on call and I was walking out talking on the phone, talking, we were doing a Zoom call as I was getting into the car and you were talking about that. And I was like, maybe I really need to rethink that. It
So
was
over the
awesome.
next year, this is now pandemic year.
Yes.
Um, you got that single family that had like 4 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms
Yep.
that you added a fourth one,
Mm-hmm.
and then you got a few more, right?
Yeah, so really acquired the first one. It was sold as a 3 bedroom, but it had a fourth room, but because of basement and it didn't have the proper window, and I knew I was like, I'm gonna convert this into a 4 bedroom because it's just simple to get a contractor to do that, to change the window out. And so we converted it into a 4 bedroom. Then later on in September of that same year, this is 2020, I got acquired a 6 unit
Mm-hmm.
multifamily. And then after that, May of 2021, I acquired a single family. This was a for sale by owner,
Mm-hmm.
and that was really nice. And then in that same year, April, around that time, I acquired the another 9 unit multi-unit. So overall, like 17 doors in 2 years.
Pandemic
Wow.
years.
Pandemic years. Yes, it was
For
quite,
somebody who thought you didn't have the money.
you know, I'm glad I took that webinar course because you opened up my eyes to the possibilities of financing.
Yeah.
You really
Okay.
did.
So people are probably wondering, okay, seriously, like, okay, so how did you finance them, right?
Yes. So I know you went through a whole lot of things, but the ones I was most comfortable with, I used a HELOC to
Yeah.
start off. I used a HELOC for the first property, paid myself back, then I just recycled that same money.
Yeah.
So in essence, to me, it was my house was now, instead of like a liability, it became an asset. It was generating funds for me. And so that's how I start off. So the majority of the down payments was with a HELOC, and then I had like family kind of bolster the rest of it. So it was nice to kind of to start to talk about it to my family members and get them on board. So
Yeah.
that's how I started off. So it was really good.
Nice.
I wouldn't
17
have
units.
known. 17
Nice.
units, 17 doors, 17 doors.
And then
Yeah.
the seller financed one.
Okay, so that was sweet. All right.
Mm-hmm.
This
Mm-hmm.
is the reason why. I remember you stating, listen, tell everybody what you're doing. And you also had mentioned talk to, contractors around. If you're working with them, tell them what you do. So it so happened I was looking at other things. I was thinking about getting into flipping too, or getting, that type. And I found this guy on Craigslist that was local in the area. And I said, hey, do you mind coming with me to view a property? I want to see what my options are. And it turned out that it didn't work out with those deals, but he remembered me because he was working on a property for another landlord, and that person wanted to sell. So he's like, hey, you still interested? And then I connected with the landlord and he wanted to sell. We did a deal together, and that's how it was. It was just
Nice.
talking, it was just networking with your local area. Yeah.
Networking, the N word.
Networking. It
The
was
N
good.
word.
I know. Yes.
Nice, nice. No,
Yes.
that's so good. I mean, I love sharing all your stories because I mean, they inspire me myself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, that is so good, so good. So now we enter into 2021, and now my eyes are like popped for short-term rentals.
Mm-hmm.
And initially we're talking arbitrage, but then at some point we're like, you're like, wait, I don't need to arbitrage. I have rentals. Like I have the apartments.
Yes.
And so you
Yes.
flip.
Yep, I did. So I realized where I was situated there were, because when you live in your own area, you don't think anyone wants to come visit. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
especially where I am. But then I realized, wow, there are people visiting, and I have a 6-unit building that's kind of right in the spot where people come to the lakes. There's a state park. And so I decided to convert one of the units to a short-term rental and see how that goes.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other house, because it was situated in a county that wasn't so short-term friendly, then I decided to change it to a midterm rental.
Okay.
So it's been working out pretty good. So, just learning how to pivot,
Mm-hmm.
and seeing what the real estate has in store.
So if you, just to give us a bit of an idea, and you can share as much or as little as you want to, what kind of numbers were you seeing on the long-term rental side versus on the short or midterm rental side?
Yeah, so okay, so in my area, it's a diverse kind of, I guess you call, what do you call it, payment, people who are willing to pay for rental. So you're looking at maybe a rental for a room is about $400. So when you have an apartment, if it's a 2-bedroom, you're probably pushing $800 for that.
Okay.
But with the short-term rental, I am looking at what right now it's like 2 something a night, 175 to 2 something a night. You're looking at a weekend.
So wait, hold up. So you're making what would have been your rent in 2 nights.
Yes, I mean because okay, my 6-unit apartment, they're each unit is they're 2 bedrooms, 1 bath. That's how it's divided up. So really, when I acquired the property, the rent was about $625 a month for rent, right? The upstairs was $650. So now, if I push it, if I was to keep it as a long term, the best I could get at this point would be about $800 a month for the same unit because of just changes. But I'm getting over a weekend, a 3-day is $800. So that's,
and you've got 3 more weekends you could possibly fill.
I know, right? Yes. So it's a big difference. It's a big difference.
And it's because, and the reason that I opted to share your story here, even though I know that you'll be with us in October, is that some people hear short-term rentals and they only think that it'll work in vacation destinations.
Right.
They think it's only for the Smokies, Destin, 30A area, all of that. But you are literally in the middle of a place that you thought you would never live in.
Right.
And you're still making this work.
Yes. And for me, it's working because the way I look at it, again, our occupancy rate is would be a lot lower than some of these really popular sites. But what I'm able to do with, especially my apartment, is I can use I have 2 units converted now to short-term rental. So that's really sweet. But those 2 units pay the mortgage. And and any extras and the upkeep. As a matter of fact, how it works is I take the income from that, and then I use it to kind of upkeep some of the long-term rentals, change over. So it's providing the cash flow, but also providing ability to really revamp some of the other units if they need new appliances and so forth. So I'm able to do that without dipping into any reserve.
What would have been your reserves? What would have been your cash flow?
Yeah. And then at the same time, if you look at it that way, especially with the long-term rentals, then as I make improvements to the other properties, the equity is growing. So for me, it's really working out well and providing that safety net, I guess you'll say.
Beautiful. I love it. Now you mentioned rehabbing and fixing up. The last one that you turned over, I remember you shared pictures.
Oh yeah, the unit. That was the unit. Yeah. So it's pretty interesting. I am not by any means. I don't have that brain, that other side. I'm math and science type of a girl, I kind of left that other creative.
You left that other part there.
I did, when you only work with half of your brain. So it was sweet. I worked with in designer for that one. And I could tell the difference because my first unit, I did it myself. But the second one, I was like, let me get this designer in. And what she did was just gave me the ideas, the concept, the links, everything, and I could just put it together. That was, how we arranged it. And I get a lot more just, responses to that second one. So so design does matter.
Yes. Yes, it
really,
does.
really does
If
matter.
you take anything away from this, design matters.
It matters. So now I'm looking at my first unit and I say, I really need to revamp that because it can do better as far as compared to what the second one is doing, because that one is like blowing everything out of the market. So I'm really excited.
Are they close to each other? Because I thought
Yeah, they're just upstairs. They're upstairs and downstairs. Yeah. So this is in the 6th unit. Yeah. So I really need to change it over, spruce it up a bit, because yeah, it does make a difference. Design matters. Make sure you get that. It does matter. People like to see really nice things.
They do.
Yeah.
Now, the midterm rental though, how's that one going?
It is going fantastic. And I'll say, and I'm not even trying to, blow up anything. It's really going well. The reason why is, one, we don't have a lot of midterm rentals in our area. So it's really filling the need. It's right there, smack, just like, I don't know, a mile, if even, from the hospital. So I get, I had a respiratory therapist that was in for a while, and they extended their stay. So they spent like 6 months, basically. My second guest now that's there, it's because of insurance. It was an insurance arrangement. That person unfortunately had some damage to their home and they needed to relocate. So, it was just great. I'm able to provide a nice, wonderful setting for someone who is, going through the process of trying to recover and regroup. So it's going really good. So that's the midterm rental. I really like that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, for those who are wondering what, if you're new to all this terminology, we say short-term rental, midterm rental. It's really just a way to kind of explain what we mean. Like when we say short-term rentals, they're generally referring to a furnished space that is not rented out for the entire year. But when we say short-term rental as against midterm rental, we're referring to like the 1 to 30 day stay.
Right. Yeah.
While the midterm is like, 30 days.
Oh, 30 days plus. Yeah.
30 to
yeah.
90.
So it's not rented out. You're not having a long-term contract with someone, but you might be just a 30-day plus, So if it's a visiting professional or executive coming into town and need some place to stay, it works out well.
Now, in terms of the clientele, what would you say are any differences between the two of them, the short-term type guests and the midterm guests?
So yeah, the midterm people are, they're working people, they're coming in, they're going to be settling, they want a nice space. The short-term guests are just, they're in and out, they really just need a place to lay their head at night, and they're going to explore the area, whether it's a lake, and they're gone, but yeah, that's really it. Just the time frame.
Yeah. I think that's one of the benefits, or should I say pros, of the inner city. Not, when I say inner city, I don't mean like rough neighborhood. I mean properties in the city. You have that flexibility.
Yeah, and I think for me, again, with not being in a really big vacation spot, I'm able to really pivot with kind of having the benefit of, that vacation rental thing, but then at the same time still have the sort of longer term vacation rental kind of stay. It's just the fluctuation between the two. And also too, it helps me because I do self-manage. So it helps with, especially with the midterm rentals being, in rotation, then I don't have to clean as much, or, you kind of have a break. So they're taken care of for a couple of months. So I can come back to that, circle back around with that. And then the short-term rentals, I can be like, okay, someone's coming in, let's get this ready, get my cleaner up to speed, everything like that. Because here, one of the things, you got to know your market and you got to know the area. And so for me, it's about finding that team. And sometimes the team is hard to find, especially cleaners who are consistent. So having that flexibility where I have some midterm and I don't have to depend on a constant flow of cleaners coming through, it's nice to kind of have that break.
Good. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Good. So where do you see this going? You know, thinking big picture plans, what are you thinking?
So in all honesty, I'm trying to touch into all aspects of real estate. So syndication is looking like a thing for me. I'm interested in that. I'm interested in arbitrage, so I'm exploring that. You want
Only
to see
took
what
you
that,
a year.
now it's like, I've managed my own short-term rentals. Now it's kind of good to have where it's a little bit more, I guess I want to say passive. I want to do arbitrage somewhere else to see how I want to explore different markets, basically.
Okay.
And so I'm under, in that process right now. And then I'm still interested in the big vacation rental, luxury home type thing. So exploring that. So it's just nice because it's like, wow, I have all these options out there and it doesn't have to stop. You don't have to do one, you can do them simultaneously if you can, that works.
Yeah.
And so that's where I'm at right now. It's just, and of course, helping other people learn about this.
Oh yeah. That's
It's
the
nice.
part. That's the part that I didn't say loud enough. But guys, she's also one of the coaches in Savvy Docs. So
it's nice. It's, why? Because my thing is about, it's good to, for me personally, it's good to be the servitude of it all. When I'm doing the rentals, I'm thinking about providing a wonderful environment for someone to stay. Because even as a physician, I know that your environment affects your health. So I have that in the back of my mind too. So providing that wonderful space. Next thing is providing the opportunity for other people to do this if they're so interested, because as we reach one and we teach one and they reach one and teach one, it's a better thing for all of us to be able to kind of learn if we're so inclined. So it's about servitude. I love it. This is who I am. So if it's in medicine, I love to help others. If it's in real estate, I love to help others. So it's still encapsulate who I am no matter what I'm doing.
Yep. I love it. I can go up on a whole sermon with that last part you just mentioned, but I will save that sermon for another day.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, Dr. Judith. Always a pleasure to chat with you.
No,
where can people find you? They want to connect with you other than within the Savvy Docs community, but where can they find you? Just
Oh, sure. So I have an Instagram page for my rental. It's JMB_home rentals. That's on Instagram. My personal email, you can get me at drjudithmills@gmail.com. So DRJUDITHMILLS @gmail. So I welcome questions and inquiries. So yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Again, guys, this is Dr. Judith Mills Bramble. Always a pleasure to chat with her. And we will see you all on the next one. Take care.
Yes.